So we are on episode 2 of the You Matter podcast, and I'm super excited to invite Ryan Woods. He's a singer-songwriter and to share his story with you. And for the people that don't know what this podcast is about, we believe that you matter, which is the person who's listening to this. So we're going to share our stories with you with the hopes that you can take some of the information we share and maybe utilize it in your life's journey or your tool belt. Because as we know, life is hard in ways, I mean, it really is for all of us, every human being on the planet Earth, especially in the past 5 years. So that is what this podcast is about. And I'm so grateful to invite my friend and awesome singer songwriter Ryan Woods on our show as our second guest. Hi,
Hello.
Ryan.
Hi,
Hi.
Chris. How are
So,
you
a
doing?
little bit about how we met. You want to share that, Ryan?
Sure. I mean, my recollection is I think we were going to the same church, right? And then our families started hanging out. And then you started cutting my hair when I was like 10 years old or something. And
Yeah.
I remember being really excited about that because you were like, I have a vision. I was like, yeah, a vision. Cool.
Well, here's the vision now. So that vision has carried, you know, through to this, and you obviously have a vision too. So I actually remember meeting Ryan when he was 10, and I saw you. I mean, there's a couple of memories I remember because I still am friends with his mom, Christy. By the way, good job. You raised a great boy. I just want to announce that because I know she'll watch this too. Hope to see her soon. So yeah, him and his mom and I became friends, and our kids were the same age. I know how, but I don't look old enough to have a kid your age, wink. Anyway, so my daughter and him became friends, and he was sitting at your kitchen table and playing the guitar, 10 years old. And he was singing, and I looked at him and said, "You're going to be the next Justin Bieber." I mean, I know you don't remember that because when we talk about it, you're always like the vision and the hair story.
Yeah.
But I remember
Well,
that.
yeah, I do remember that for sure.
So just to circle it around for people who don't know, Ryan on a music level, he is now living in LA. He's produced how many records have been released so far?
I mean, I've done one EP total, maybe like 20 songs I've put out. And then I have another project coming out in like October, hopefully. And I've just been rolling out singles for that and promoting it and doing all the things you gotta do. But
Yeah.
yeah,
His album is amazing. You want to share what's the old what was the well, share a little bit about what you've created now. I mean, we started in church, right? The
yeah,
vision is cool haircut and the Justin Bieber, and now we're fast forwarding a little bit
yeah.
to
So I guess my musical journey in a nutshell was like, I don't know, I've always loved singing since I was a kid, and I was always encouraged by like, parents and grandparents and whoever to like keep doing it. So I did. I was in like church choir and stuff like that, and then I got into band when I was in middle school. Was in band all throughout high school. During that time, I started teaching myself other instruments and then how to produce as well, how to like make music on my computer. Um, and then that turned into me writing songs. And then, yeah, that I started posting covers online. A few of those like took off. I got discovered by a manager who wanted to develop me and put me in writing rooms and pitch me to labels and stuff. And then that turned into me getting a record deal when I was 17 years old with a
amazing.
subsidiary of Atlantic called East West Records. And that turned into me putting out my first project, King of the Basement. And that, to get into that a little bit, that project is kind of about like my very first like era of like mental health issues, I guess. Like, I don't know. My like bubble of innocence was popped and it was devastating, and I holed up in my basement for like a year and just made a bunch of music. and wrote a bunch of songs, and that was kind of how I got through that time. With everything that had happened in my life, it like kind of isolated me. I don't know. I drifted apart from like pretty much everyone I knew. Was a little lost for a time, and I didn't really know how to express the way I was feeling. It was a lot of just anxiety and depression, but I was like, I didn't really know what those things were. I just thought I was like dying.
Yes, I can relate. Keep going.
But yeah, uh, so yeah, I just started writing about my feelings, and it brought me comfort. It alleviated my suffering a little bit, and it seemed to really like resonate with a lot of people. And I got to tour that project, got to meet, a lot of people who were impacted by the music. And yeah, so just
So that the king of the basement, thank you so much for sharing that. Did I interrupt you? Because I'm going to keep doing it.
no,
I'm
I
just
was
saying,
I was trailing off.
ADD,
You're good.
I'll roll you back in. I'll be like, come on, Ryan. Ryan and I actually converse on a regular basis because we have we have a lot of connecting elements through our lives. One being the king of the basement. I relate to that, but I'd probably say like the queen, but in a mom way. You know what I'm saying? Like I've went through a very similar mental health challenge, they would say, or spiritual awakening, depending on how you look at it. That's the way
Yeah, that
that's the
too.
way you present it. It's all about perception.
That's towards the end.
Yeah. Yes. So if you're going through hell right now on earth, let me encourage you.
Yeah,
There are ways to get on the other side of it. And that's serious. I want to say that. And that's why we're inviting Ryan to share his journey and how he poured his emotions and challenges into his music, and look at how that impacted other people, because
yeah,
it was your realness. It was your pain. It was how you really felt. And that's what people need. They need connection and understanding. And that energy you put behind that album showed a lot on the other side of it, right?
yeah. No, it was like, even though like all the songs are like quite sad, it like, I don't know. Obviously, it's a form of expression, making music and stuff. Uh, Personally, it felt like I was kind of uh, like talking to myself as my own friend, through the things
Yeah.
I'm going through, and was just able to like purge this like darkness that was, you know, inside of me. And yeah, it was really cool, and it was like worked out really well. And we were able to work with Hope Unite, um, and got to like bring the cards on tour and tell people about it. And it all kind of like connected in a weird way, because a lot of the music is about mental health, and just like searching for identity and meaning and purpose, and you know also like trying to be a present, kind, loving person throughout that process as well.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was really cool. Like, I'll never forget this. Like, I was on tour. We played a show in like Houston, I think this was at, and this girl walked up to me and like handed me a little like brass ring. Nothing crazy, but it was just like, this isn't anything much, but I just wanted to give this to you. Like, your music saved my life. And I was like, bro, what? What are you talking about? And she,
Put a pin in that, guys.
yeah,
Your music saved someone's life.
yeah,
That's
and
fact.
she like, yeah, briefly told me a little bit of like the story. She was like, yeah, I was like in a really, really dark place, if you catch my drift.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I guess my song came on her like shuffle playlist, and she started listening to the words, and it just made her not feel alone, I guess. And she decided to like, grow from there, I guess. But
That
I
was a
hope she's
great way
doing
to say
great.
it. That is so
But yeah,
great.
it's just evidence that like, you know, music really is really powerful. And I used to struggle with like my idea of like what my purpose is. I've always wanted to do something that like contributes to the world and brings about positive things. And for a while it felt like I was struggling with like the perception of like my own path. And I was like kind of sometimes I felt like really vain for like pursuing this because it's a very vain industry
Yes,
and
I imagine.
you know but I was never like chasing fame or anything. That would be great, but only because I would have a platform to impact more people. But yeah, it took me a while to like find confidence in what I was doing and the fact that it like mattered
Right.
and it was like not like a useless like path just pursuing like you know
Fame or music or ego or
yeah, just
something
like
else.
superficial
Yeah.
things, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, that moment was really defining for me because I was like, okay, this like matters. Like I'm
Yeah.
doing something cool. That's amazing.
Yeah. And so for the people that do know, don't know, I have been blessed to be placed as the founder of an organization called Hope Unite. Ryan is one of our ambassadors. He actually got the message. It's a kindness movement. And I'll talk about maybe a little bit about more at the end, where people are just reaching out to connect with other people with a gift of flowers. And the way we give, yes, the flowers to people is in this card. So in the card, there's seeds. So I'll say to someone, can I give you a flower or can I give you a rose? We're going to change this to have just flowers because all different flowers come out of this paper. And it's like giving someone a bouquet of flowers. And on the back of the card, it's a prompt to reach out if they're in need of support or if they just need to talk because life is difficult. So same as like what, very similar to, I can relate to what Ryan said is, my husband took his life in 2017. I'm a survivor of suicide as a teen. My best friend also took her life before my husband. So there's been that has been an experience on both ends that I have experienced. And actually, when Ryan and I reconnected, you had shared about a friend. Do you want to share anything on that? Like
Yeah,
how you?
I mean, just in general too. Like, yeah, I've definitely had a lot of experiences with you know um, mental health. Even my I hope she's okay with me sharing this, but my mom even like is a survivor. I've come dangerously close to like, going down that hole in my brain of just hopelessness. Yeah, I've lost like a very dear friend of mine. Um, and yeah, it's really, I don't know.
I feel like it's something that a lot of people go through, but don't talk about.
Yeah, it's kind of, because I don't know, you kind of have to like forget a little bit and move on. And it's not really it's I don't know, the emotions it brings about and the like I don't know
It's a
if
tough topic.
yeah
It's a tough.
if emotions are food and you like need to digest the food and process things, it's like unprocessable. I don't know, like it's
That is
not really
great. I love
something.
your analogies. Yes, it's
It's like
unable to be processed.
yeah,
Right.
it's like too much food for you to possibly consume, so you kind of have to like discard it in ways
Survive.
to
Survive.
get through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really weird. I still don't really know how to talk about it other than just like, trying to.
Yes, I'm gonna save you real quick. Ready? I know it's hard. I'm making a little laughter. Not that any of this is funny, but I have a little bit more of a darker sense of humor because I've had to create my darkness into humor in my brain. Can you relate?
Yeah.
It's like I used to say to my kids, I would make them laugh in the middle of like a tantrum or something, right? And I'd be like, if you don't laugh, you're gonna cry. So you might as well laugh at it, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, that being said, when it comes to these topics, of course we want to be serious, but we also have to, at least for me, humor is one of my tools. It's one of my mental health tools to get through this life. And I have quite a few that I have to use daily, or I get to use.
Yeah,
Let's look at that differently. I get to
it's the
use them
best
daily.
medicine.
It's the best medicine. I always say meditation and medication. Like those are my, seriously, that's my two staples is meditation, connection with God. I choose to say the creator of all things, the divine authority, whatever you want to call it, right? That is the most important thing for me with my mental health. And then going through kind of what you were saying earlier, like, am I doing this for me or I'm doing this for others? It's, even with the organization, I was like, am I doing like I need to be a hero because I feel guilty? You know what I'm saying? Like all of those
Yeah,
thoughts have run through my brain. And I've decided to believe because I've also had people come up and say this saved our lives. And we're now working with a few cases and watching them really grow. And there's nothing like that. We actually, our next podcast is going to be one of our friends. That's what I'm going to call him. He is my friend. He went from being totally suicidal. I'm going to cry saying this, Michael. Anyways, he went to being totally wanting to leave this earth to now getting a job at Ross 6 months later. I mean, he's doing amazing. So that is, like, yes, is it something that feeds my soul too? Yeah, it's a win-win situation. Kindness is one of those things. It's where
yeah,
your intention is. So where's your intention? So, but
yeah,
I know coming from a religious background a little bit, because I want to talk about spirituality. Do you want to talk about yours at all? You want me to lead in on that?
yeah, sure. I mean, I was kind of about to like bring it up in the way that like I've I don't know, I've been working on this next project for like years and years, and it's kind of like a more adult take, I guess, on my experiences and what I've like processed and learned through like just from like 19 to like 22 roughly. I'm about to be 25 on Saturday. That's
Oh my
crazy.
gosh. I'm writing
But
it down.
yeah,
Saturday.
I
Okay.
think but yeah, that's kind of what my next project is about, is just a like deeper dive into like my own human experience. I actually have a little bit of like a synopsis written down for it, and I, if you don't mind, I can just read it real quick.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, so the new project is called God Boy, and it's called that because of like my constant like wrestling with my own like significance, I guess, and what my purpose is, as I grow up. What am I meant to do? What kind of person do I want to be? And I was raised religiously, and have really made me think about, like, it made me constantly think about the idea of good and bad, and like just like morality and the concept of love and kindness and hate and fear, all these like, very normal emotions, but from like a religious or spiritual standpoint, I was constantly wondering where I'm at and where do I need to be. And it wasn't until I like let go of that and like learned what presence was that I started to get over that. So yeah, that's kind of the, I don't know, you can think of God Boy as like an idyllic self, I guess, or like, I don't know, an alter ego or something, but it's just that part of my brain that wrestles with bigness and smallness, chaos versus control, good and evil, what I can do and what I can't, what I should do, what I'm not doing, all the, always, I'm a bit of an overthinker, if you couldn't tell, but
Hi, welcome.
yeah,
Thank
so,
you.
yeah, it's kind of just like, I don't know, I've always been in just, I think it's just who I am. I'm constantly like in the middle of like duality, and I'm always
Yeah.
finding myself in like the gray area. in between the black and whiteness of the world, you know. And I think, I don't know, in a weird way, I'm very driven by balance, but it's confusing sometimes because things are really complex. And especially when you're in that gray area, there's like, you know, there's pros and cons to everything everywhere you look. How do you know what's right and what's wrong in those moments?
I love hearing my thoughts come out of someone else's mouth. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's so fun to listen. Go ahead. It's
But
so
yeah, it's
great.
all to say that it's kind of what, you know, kick started my spiritual journey, you know, especially coming from a religious background. You know, I always loved the thought of like, you know, there is like a creator and there is like an infinite amount of love happening in the world. Just the fact that I exist means I am loved, you know? It's like love is like a constant energy. I don't know how to fully encapsulate my my thoughts, but like the I don't know. I think, you know, just being able to be alive is like existence of like, you know, a great energy of love out there. And I was always searching for like the meaning of that, whether it was through religion or spirituality or even, you know, just personal life things, relationships. And yeah, so I kind of got lost in the sauce a little bit, figured out the hard way what, you know, panic attacks were. And yeah, that kind of drove me to like search for, you know, ways to,
Please.
you know, process things and understand the world and be okay with the way things were. So, I don't know, I'm kind of trailing off now.
Oh, that's okay. I actually, this is the part of this is a part of the conversation. I'm trying to stay quiet. Can you tell? I'm like, I want to say so much. And what I do, I am a talker. I also know this about myself. I was raised in the church and I'm older than Ryan, as you guys figured out, probably, hopefully. And it was back when it was like corporal punishment, like you got hit with sticks. That's the way it was. So I have a lot of, and just, listen, I'm not the victim. I can see the positives from that part of the journey too. And I never blame my parents at all, or my mom. She was a single mom. It's hard for me to blame her because she was taught that way. You know, that was the right way. So I was sheltered from like the Smurfs, if anybody knows what the Smurfs were. I wasn't allowed to watch certain things. And throughout my life, I became very rebellious in that area and left the journey, or tried to anyway, because I don't know that that's a choice, in my opinion, just my opinion, my experience. And then when I was brought back in through a series of like hard knocks to my head, right? When I started to see things a little different, I ended up teaching Bible class and going to Bible college for 9 years and really wanting to understand the Bible in a different way. And I will say that I read that book completely different than I used to because I have like a spiritual lens, and that it's very clear. It says God is love. And if people know anything about quantum physics, great. You'll know what I'm talking about next. If you don't, look it up, because there is something about quantum physics and energy. And I've watched it in my life when it comes to like gratitude and love and being in a high vibration. You can actually see the world around you change. And so I started incorporating that into my faith. And it's interesting that you said gray, because that's one of the things I'm working on in therapy. I was journaling this morning and meditating on what I was going to talk to my therapist about, because I see a therapist. I think we all should have one, truthfully. Like at birth, you get assigned this person.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I was we're going to tackle some of my religious abuse issues from when I was a childhood, because I know that that's put a challenge with me being able to see from a religious standpoint, because there's good in everything, right? It's all gray except for Jesus, but that's another topic. That's another show, in my opinion. Again, I mean, But we can even talk about that now. But in my opinion, Jesus was who he said he was, but not as a religious figure, as showing us what love looks like and what it's supposed to look like. Like he was humble. And for anybody who knows who Jesus is, I'm sure everybody here, they're either having stomach aches or they're really excited we're having this conversation. I'm believing that he was the one human that signed up to be this, separate of his ego. And he walked out his journey, and I believe he was who he said he was. But I think that it's interesting the way human beings want to compartmentalize things, right?
Yeah,
We all do.
they
It's
like
like we've
to
got,
box it
go ahead.
in. But yeah, and that's kind of like, I don't know, with my journey, I grew up in the church as well. I wouldn't say I faced like much like abuse or anything from church, but there was like a lot of confusion, and also like I did like try really hard to like, you know, be like, live my life biblically and correctly as far as like, you know, biblical
Uh-huh.
standards go. I kind of got to the point where, um, I don't know, a series of events happened in my life, and yeah, it like popped my bubble of innocence. This is like the way the world is. I need to like find out about this. And it kind of set me on this whole journey. Kind of like, yeah, I guess you could call it rebellion, but really I was kind of just, I've been taught my whole life that I had been saved, and like, I'm, it's either heaven or hell or like what, whatever. And but I was like, what have I even been like saved from? Because like, I feel like I try to be as good of a person as I know how to be. Why do I still like suffer? Why do people still want to like hurt me? It never, it didn't have as much to do with like church for me as much as it did just like, I don't know what I needed to be saved from. I didn't know what I needed to like, I don't
Religion
know.
is
I
very
think I
confusing.
subconsciously like was chasing like, the sinful life, and like just for like research purposes, as weird as that sounds, but like I was like, I don't, how
Yeah.
do I know, because I'm the kind of person who like, I need to personally experience things for some, like, someone could tell me what they think or like what their advice is on whatever
I feel
aspect
you.
of life I'm having difficulty with. But until I like learn myself, it doesn't fully like clock in my brain. So yeah, I think especially if you like grew up in church and or any like strict religious like household or something, um I think you kind of, everyone kind of subconsciously is like wondering what's on the other side, I guess. And
Right.
sometimes you got to touch the stove, you know
I just want to not touch it 3 times.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, let me ow. Let me put my finger on it a little longer. Ow. Don't touch it again. Right? It's like, because it is kind of like that. I mean, we are on a planet in a solar system. That's real life. And I want to just state this too. Like, if you're religious, it's totally good. We're about love. We're about light. That is where Ryan and I meet, and many of the people that are part of Hope Unite. We meet on that foundation, and that's what we always want to present to everyone we come in contact with. And Ryan's been put in an amazing position as a singer-songwriter to be able to do that. And although we're sitting here and we talk about our challenges, it's really about connection. So some people have listened to us and they're like, yeah, I get that. Some people might be like, what? And that's okay too. Like we're all different. We're all experiences are different. Our belief structures are different. But at the end of the day, most religions' foundation is on love. And so when I was a Bible teacher, would always teach the kids, God is love. So why do bad things happen? I mean, we could go down a rabbit trail for that for hours because we don't know.
Yeah.
We think we know. We think we know. We always want to figure out what is it that makes our
Yeah.
brain okay with it. You know what I mean? That's how the human mind works. See, from my perspective, God is three parts. This is the way I see it, as the Father, which would be creator of all things. That's what I like to say. The Son, which is human flesh form, Jesus, and the Spirit, which is the Holy Spirit or the Spirit of God, the Spirit of love, however, it resonates. And I believe humans were created in God's image. He created us in God's image. We have the mind, which is our control panel. This is what controls everything, believe it or not. It starts here. So we've got the mind, that's our creator of all things in our universe, in our world. And then we've got the body, which is our flesh, and we're nothing like Jesus because none of us can give up all of our ego. I can't. How about this? I'll speak for myself. Maybe there's someone that can. I've never met anybody, and I still can't. And I work constantly at this,
Yeah.
And then there's the spirit, which is love. It's the spirit of love that brings us to a place of transformation, which I know both Ryan and I have went through and continue to go through. Right. So with the God boy, you had mentioned with me to me a little bit about how it was like God boy. Right.
Yeah. Pretty
So
much.
can you yeah, tap in on that. Do you have
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah. I mean, I think, um, yeah, for me, it was like, I don't know, when I was a kid, you know, I, I really fell in love with the idea that there's like an end goal in life. There's a mountain to climb. There's a whatever, but and at the end of it, is beauty and perfection and uh, you know, eternal love, which I still think is the case, but um I had a really hard time coming to terms with like, how am I supposed to like be in the world now? It like kind of sucks. Like, there's just a lot of fear around every corner. There's something to, even things I've loved, people I've loved have turned
Yeah.
into sources of fear.
Yeah.
And, but I didn't really find peace until I started to like think about, think in this way where like maybe, maybe everything is already perfect.
I like that.
Maybe this is how things should be, bad makes good good and more bad makes good better.
Love that. That should be
you
a
know
t-shirt.
there's I think we get conditioned early on in our lives to judge or like to judge our own feelings and thoughts and perception of the world. It's like, oh, like I got hurt so everything sucks and like there's no hope for like this world or whatever, but really it's like it's exactly the way it should be. I could like, no matter how far I zoom out, I couldn't imagine it being any other way. If so but that's what gives me hope is in the like black and white duality of the world, you realize it's not black and white. It's all color. It's a rainbow, if you will.
Yes. What a
But
great perspective.
in that, like, what's really helped me is like being confident in the fact that love is not the opposite of fear or hate or like whatever its negative counterparts are. It consumes those things. It like, like a light shining in darkness, it's like those things exist because there's an absence of love or,
Right.
like kind of it's kind of cliche probably, but like a lot of people will say like you can't hate something without loving it in some way.
Yeah.
There's some sort of
Yeah.
like either obsession or you loved it once and it bit you, so now you hate it, but there's still passion in that
Yeah.
hate, you know?
Yeah.
But that's like what's beautiful about it is like love still exists there. It's just,
Yeah.
but so yeah, that's kind of what like, I think self pity and I don't know, it's like, how do I wrap this up? We're blinded a lot by negativity and in all its forms, hate, love, fear, sadness, depression, anxiety, whatever, but it's like I think there's good in everything. There's good in those things too. And I think,
Yeah.
you know, I live by the quote, emotions are indicators, not dictators, I think
Oh,
anxiety is like excitement's evil twin, it's like not the opposite of excitement. It's just like anticipation and uncertainty. But I think it's like whenever I'm anxious, I try to like take a deep breath and be like, I need to like be excited about this thing I'm anxious about, or else it's gonna like, you know,
take you down.
yeah, it's like the opposite of manifesting, or it's like
Hmm.
anti-manifesting. It's like because when you're anxious about it, you're not even present in the moments leading up to what it is you're anxious about to make sure that it's like, the best it can be. And sometimes that's just like flipping that switch in your brain and being like, this is good. This is how it should be. This is the way it
Yeah.
is.
Love it.
Hell
That
yeah,
was,
life.
yes. And what he's talking about for is CBT training. That's actually something therapeutic where you take the story and rewrite it,
Yeah,
right? Or you look at the balance like, I'm going to choose this to put in my bank. You know what I mean? Or I'm
yeah,
going to choose this. And then what happens when you make those choices? It creates this feeling, which create, oh, I don't want that one. But you can go down the rabbit hole of what it would look like. And even when that thought is there, this is something I practice too daily. I have negative thoughts all day long. And now I'm grateful through some of my therapeutic tools that I've gathered, right? I'm able to notice them, take it, and then decide what energy do I want to produce, anxiety or excitement, just like you said, with
yeah,
like more feeling words,
yeah.
you
I
know?
like to call it the mental meal plan. It's like, I don't know, when you see, like, I don't know why I relate a lot of things to like food and stuff, but it just makes sense in so many ways. But like,
You're such
I
a great
think,
person.
you know, in a mental like space, life is the food. And, you, the power of choice you have is in what kind of food you're eating. It's like when
Mhm.
someone's like upset that they're like unhealthy or like underweight or gaining weight, whatever it is, like, you're like, well, yeah, no wonder you're underweight, you're not eating, or no wonder you're overweight, you're like eating it. No wonder this soup tastes bad. You put like way too much salt in it. Play with the ingredients, play with the, recipe. You know, like I think the goal is, not everyone needs to be like a 5-star chef with their like
Yeah.
mental meal plans or anything, but I think like mentalities connected to energy, kind of like you were saying about like frequencies and stuff. And in this metaphor of like food or whatever, you got to be getting your nutrients. And, if you're not getting that nutrients, you're going to start to notice like, you know, negative effects as a result. It's like, you know, kind of like you that video you shared with me, like a big point he makes. He's like, you know, you want more love in your life, then start loving, you know,
Yes,
you want,
it's the law of attraction.
you
It's
know,
so real.
you want to be happy. That only comes from like being grateful, in the moment that you're in, being grateful for what you already have. You want abundance, practice gratitude and allow that abundance to come to you. And it's kind of, even if you were to like relate it to like religion in any way, it's kind of like it's the act of like trusting God. It's the like, just believing fully in whatever higher power you're believing in, that like you being alive is enough to feel like you're allowed to exist. So just let your existence happen. And
Yeah.
not to, don't sit around and like just wait for things to come to you all the time, but meet God in the middle, meet life in the middle, meet the universe in the middle, and like, hide in that, I guess. And that's
Yeah,
the only way to be okay, because life's constantly getting harder and more complex.
it
And
is.
if
It
you,
is.
it's kind of like math in a way. Like if you can't like simplify and divide, then your brain is constantly branching off into more and more complexity, and that weighs you down over time. And then it's like I don't know,
It's a
it's not
cycle.
part of the meal plan.
There you
It's
go. Too much salt.
yeah, it starts turning into junk food.
Yeah. Right. So it's I love that you're using food too, because it just got my brain going as a also fellow overthinker. I was thinking about how everyone's meal plan is different. Like for instance, for people who may know this, for different blood types, you're supposed to eat different ways, right? But it's all what's filling your nutrients. Certain medications work for some people, they don't for others. You know what I mean? So that is really what our focus is on this podcast is we're starting this and we're inviting amazing people to share their journey with you, and what you get, take, but what you leave, don't, or what you don't, leave. Like, it's all about what works for you. And so I hope that this conversation has inspired someone, and it can be little things like Derek, my former podcast guest, um, the Moonlight King. He really believes in the 1% every day to get you to your goal. I struggle because I have ADD really badly. And so I'll try to make myself a schedule, and I'll stay on it 3 days, and then something happens because I also have kids, right? So will get me off that schedule. And instead of beating myself up for not being perfect, because that's something I used to do, I used to go in like a dark place. I would say, you know what? That's okay. I had those 2 days. Let's start again. And then for me, it's mind, body, soul. I try to do something for my mind every day, my body, an act of self-care, and soul, which is really what the You Matter movement is about, which is a part of Hope Unite, which is what Ryan is actually an ambassador of. And that's the kindness movement I was talking about before. Every day I try to find someone to be kind to intentionally, not just because I'm nice and you know what I'm saying, but intentionally say, I'm going to make an intention to connect with another human being today. Because what
Yeah.
we're lacking in this world is connection, divide and conquer. I mean, the kids are on the phones. They don't even talk at meals anymore. I'm guilty. I have used that, especially being a single mom and working, and it pains my soul. But
Yeah.
that that's something I'm working on right now. But anyways, like it just feels like there's more disconnection, and our goal is to become more of a connection, like a heartbeat of love around the world. And there's a lot of people coming to this same frequency, we'll say, or understanding that it's so much bigger than fighting. It's so much bigger than being angry. It's so much bigger than holding on to resentments. It's so much bigger than that. And so, Ryan, thank you, because he actually took the movement to countries. I want to say, I don't quote me because I would have to go look at the website, but I want to say like 28 countries the movement got to through your tour. So I just want to say thank you for that. And we did get phone calls too for people that were going. We had someone, I don't know where this came from because there's someone else who's doing it in England, like abroad, but we had a girl call in from England that was cutting herself, and shared with us a little bit, and we got to talk with her, and we were able to connect her to a therapist in England that took her insurance. So that's really what we do is the cards are a kindness tool, but they're also a support for people in need to reach out to our care coordinator team who walks with the person that is going through a difficult time in life, we'll just say, until they get the support that they need. So that's a little bit unique about the way the structure of the organization is set up is really holding the person's hand and being the support when they need it, because we all do sometimes.
Yeah. And that's why I'm like
Thank
so excited to be a part of it, because it, like, to keep running with my food metaphor, you know. Actually, there's a quote. I don't know where the origin of the quote is, but it goes, you know, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is right now, you know. And that's kind of what I think kindness is, a seed. Just little acts of kindness, or you're just spreading seeds around. And it's I think it's there's a lot of desert in the world right now. There's a big lack of trees and fruit and foliage, for lack of a better word. But yeah, and that's what kindness and love does, is it just paints the world with color. It plants seeds, it grows fruit and
It grows
delicious
fruit for
and beautiful things. And not only does it do that like extrovertedly, but also internally, it plants
right,
those seeds
full
in
circle,
you, raises your frequency or
right?
whatever, and you know, it benefits your mental meal plan, you know. So it's a win-win.
Yeah,
So
it
like,
is. It's a
just be
win-win.
nice, you know. Just be
Just
kind.
be nice. Just
Yeah.
let the person in that's got their blinker on. Open up the door for everyone you see. You know, little things. It doesn't have to be like, well, I can't because I don't have the money to. No, that's not what we're saying. It's literally just the intention. When you go into a grocery store, if you notice like someone's nails are nice or their earrings you like or whatever, you have a great smile. It's like just doing,
Compliments
yeah,
change people's days, you know.
it's true.
I don't know. I was at the store last night and I told the cashier that I liked his mustache. He lit up, dude. He was like, "Thank you. Thank you. Grew it myself." Even like
Yeah.
one thing too I love to do is I like to cook a lot. If you couldn't tell by my copious amounts of food metaphors. But even something like, I love like letting my like roommates or my friends try the, you know, whatever food I'm making, you know, even if it's just a bite, or like, or I have an extra piece of whatever, you know. That's like, I don't know. That's like another little way you can, you know, be a little kind. You know, even
Making
like,
cookies.
this one's funny. When I'm on the freeway, especially in Los Angeles, there's a lot of traffic and it's like stopping and going, but then there's like these motorcycles that like cut through the lanes and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I've noticed if you like get over a little bit when you notice a motorcycle coming up beside you, they love it. And they always throw up like a peace sign or something, and they're like, or like a thumbs up or something. It's so funny. I'm like, yes.
And it's a great feeling. So we're here to encourage people. I like to say this. I like to say, imagine with me if every person on the planet Earth was intentionally kind to one person every day. World change. It's not about one person doing it. It's about us all doing it as a unit, because that's not too much to ask anyone. You know what I mean? Find one person to be kind to today. And that's
Yeah.
really what the vision is
Even
for
if it's
the,
just like calling a friend up or calling your mom. Dude, call your mom.
right? Call your mom.
You know,
Someone's
something.
going to call their
Yeah.
mom.
But yeah,
Mom,
it's
we're going to
like,
all get phone calls.
there's like, you know, there's a million ways, there's an infinite amount of ways and thoughts you can think that, you know, um, you know,
Get creative.
your frequency, but there's infinitely more ways to love and be kind. And um you know, and that's why I like entertain the like concept of like black and white a lot, because it's like, there, like, it seems like a lot of people only think there's ever like two options. There's like a good option or a bad option, or like a I either do this or like someone hurts you, you either like cut them off or like forgive them or like get revenge or something. But there's always a third option, and that is, seeking wisdom and love and kindness and, you know, um,
Preach.
yeah. And you like, especially when you're consciously doing that, you can't really like be hurt, because you're like, it's like, in simple terms, you open a door for someone and they like just walk past and say thank you. What good does it do you to be like, oh jerk, like you didn't say thank you to me? There's a third option where it's just like just feel good that you did that, or like don't pay it any mind, or like
Or realize that that person might be going through something.
yeah.
See, that's the other thing is
And
we
that's
never
like
know what
where
anyone else is going.
selflessness comes
Yeah.
in, where it's been like, yeah, I didn't do this for me to get a cookie
Mhm.
or something. I did it because this was my contribution to kindness and love
For the day.
in the world.
Right.
And whether I
Right.
get a cookie for that or not, I believe that like we're all connected and part of like a big, really big pot of soup. And it's just,
Yes, I love your soup metaphor.
yes,
Love it. I've been thinking about it since you told me
yeah,
about it.
this is how we like. That's the thing, when you feel sad about something, that's you like tasting the soup. And you're like, it needs more salt. So throw some salt in there. You're out of salt, go buy some salt.
Right?
Whatever. Needs more potato. Just season
Life is like a
in the
bowl
soup,
of soup.
make it
Yeah,
better.
life is like a bowl of
Don't
soup.
just sit there and be upset that the soup isn't up to your standards or something. What are you doing to make it better?
Right. Right. So I'm so grateful. We could talk for 2 days, him and I. We know this, like this has happened before. So I'm like so grateful. So what's going on with God Boy is and the name of the new album?
Yeah,
I don't
that
know.
is the name of it. So I have two more songs coming out for it. I just released the last one called Gun in the Glove Box. That one is,
Great song.
it's listen to it and figure out, the meaning for yourself. But
How would one find that song right now since it's been released?
yeah, it's on Spotify, YouTube, whatever streaming platform you use. And then, yeah, I have two or three more singles coming out in the next couple months. And then I think I'll be dropping the full album this fall.
It's amazing. What's the next song? Debbie Downer?
Yeah, that one. That one's a fun one because it's kind of like it has like two meanings. Kind of just about uh, it's kind of like me getting over my own depression by personifying it and like treating it as like this toxic person in my life that I won't tolerate anymore. But it's also as simple as like just a real person being that way in your life, and but it's all kind of
Favorite things about your
it's all
music is
connected.
there's always like the double meaning.
Mhm.
His music is so deep and he's got a very unique. Which genre would you say your music would be categorized in? Do you even have one? It's the Ryan Woods
I have
genre.
no idea. No, I like to say hits.
Hits,
Like, what kind of music do you
hits,
make? Hits.
yeah,
You know.
hits. So everybody go out there and check him out on Spotify. It's Ryan Woods. His new album is God Boy. The former album is King of the Basement. So if you guys want to check him out, I think he's amazing. I'm sure y'all do too. And many people are going to watch this because of you, Ryan. Thank you so much for being. It is an
Of course.
honor to
Thank
have
you for
you on the
having me.
show. And
No,
it's, you know what's funny?
I love a good chance to yap and
Yeah, me too. I just, I'm
intellectualize things.
Yeah, I hope everybody got something from our discussion, and I hope we can do this more. And I'm excited to see where your journey takes you. And I'm so grateful that you're an ambassador for us. We're going to talk more about that later.
Yeah.
But thank
Yeah,
you so much, Ryan.
of
Do you want to
course.
share
Yeah.
anything before I stop recording, just to be real?
Yeah, if you can find me on whatever social media. My name's Ryan Woods. You know, I make music. My mission with that music is to, you know, uh, not only entertain, but also, spread love, provoke, you know, deep
I
thoughts, make people feel understood, you know, maybe not feel so alone in whatever way they're feeling. And I think that's hopefully everyone's goal in making music, but that is my intention. And if you're watching this, just know you are loved, and whatever it is in your life you feel like that you're lacking, power is in you to find it. You just gotta search. It's not always fun.
usually isn't, from my experience. Has
It's
it ever
not
been
fun.
fun for you? Oh, well, you switch your thoughts. That's right. You can make
Yeah.
it fun now.
Yeah, just think of it like a video game. You're just on a
Yeah.
quest.
Quest. I was
You
just
just,
thinking that word. You read my mind and you read my journal this morning about the black and white
yeah.
and gray.
Some things are main quests, some things are side quests. Sometimes you gotta fight a dragon or something, but sometimes you just gotta go pick flowers too.
Very true. Get out
Yeah,
there and ground, get in the forest. I'm going to Tennessee Tuesday. Christy, I hope to see you.
yeah.
I'm going into the woods. Ryan Woods, I'm going to the woods.
Final disclaimer, I don't know anything.
Oh, yeah, same here. Good one. Listen, you know you don't know something when you can say that. Or
Yeah,
actually, you know what I'm saying when I'm saying
yeah.
that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
I love throwing that out there.
The
I
more
know
you
nothing.
know, the more you know you don't know.
Yes.
Classic.
Thanks, Ryan. Love
Of course.
you. Talk
Love you.
soon. Okay. Bye.
Bye.